Thanks for reminding. It's fantastic. Teamwork. Okay, here we go. Alignment, Monday's topic. A few technical difficulties to start with. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the shared screen so I can see it as well. Okay, we're here. How do I know I'm in alignment, and what does being in alignment mean? So these words can be thrown around, especially when we want to be in alignment with our authentic self, our higher self, our potential. How do we know that this is happening and when we're out of alignment? So what I see it as alignment, if we're looking for alignment, we're looking at thriving in life rather than surviving. So we're wanting things to be easier, to be in more flow, to have less chaos in our life, to have less challenges and stresses, so we can do the things that are more inspiring, motivating, and make us feel good as well in the long term. So what I talk about with when we're out of alignment, it gives us the opportunity to come back into alignment. So this is where contrast comes in. It's the same as if I want to be happy, I'll know what it's like to not be happy, to be unhappy. And then when I'm reaching for that goal of happiness, there'll be this contrast because I'll need that to know when I'm happy. It's the same when we're out of alignment. We really need to know that when we're out of alignment, when something's not quite right, and then when we are moving further into alignment. So that's the contrast that we're going through. So generally it's our feelings that tell us when we're out of alignment, and I'll go through all that. I just put this photo in here, this person, to show that we cannot compartmentalize our life. So alignment really shows us that. What I mean by this is if we try to go to work and just leave work at work and then go home and push away any experiences that we had at work, what we're kind of doing there is suppressing ourselves. So on a holistic perspective, everything has a place in our life, and it also impacts our nervous system. This is why I've got the human there, because everything in our life, from our work to friends to relationships to whether we're grounded or feeling stressed, our boss, everything has an impact on our nervous system. And this is because we're biological human beings. So we have a biology where we are sensing constantly our body, and this is like beyond the mind. Our body is sensing danger or safety. So in every single environment that we find ourselves in, we're constantly scanning for danger or safety. So that's taking up energy. So if we're in an environment, say at work, where there's real unhealthy communication and culture, our body will be in a constant protective mode, because it's like, this place is dangerous because it doesn't have a healthy culture. So this is why when we go home, we might feel exhausted after a day at work, where it may not be physically like demanding, but it still exhausts us as though it is, because our body has been tense all day at work protecting us. So the thing about alignment is we cannot compartmentalize and just push aside people, things that might impact us if they're in our everyday life, from work, from family, from wherever, whatever it is that we do. This is where boundaries come in, and why boundaries are supportive for our nervous system. So what else impacts whether we're in alignment or not is that the way that we think of ourselves, the world view, so the world around us, people. So this all influences whether we are in alignment. And the reason being is if I have a belief that I'm not smart enough, good enough, strong enough to do something other than what I'm doing now, then I am going to stay out of alignment because I will continue to do what's familiar, but not necessarily what's healthy. So the way that we shift that is to start to shift the way that we see ourselves, and that's through the inner work, the belief system work. It's through processing past traumas that created those belief systems, and then seeing also how that shifts our worldview. Because often, if we're in a survival state, we can be hyper focused on the world view and not so focused on our well-being, and also then the people around us. So how we interact with people around us, whether our belief systems come in around, do I deserve better? Do I, am I in a relationship with someone that's healthy, that supports me, that holds me up? And so this is what influences our alignment, our ability to how we think about these things, but it's not often on a conscious level, which is why doing the inner work, you can tap into the subconscious. No one on this world, in this planet, wants to live out of alignment, right? We don't want to be sick. We don't want to have conflict in our relationships. We want to be in work that we feel fulfilled in, like we're not doing it on a conscious level. And at the same time, the results that we get out of alignment is a really good feedback to tell us where we can do some work, some reflection pieces, some inner work, some trauma processing to be able to come back into alignment. So I've got what stops us from coming into alignment. There's a few things that stop us. This is where we've got to be really real with ourselves, but not from a shame place, not a shame-based place. It's more around, on a subconscious level, we have fears, we have belief systems that can keep us in denial. So denial can be the opposite to coming into alignment, because if I'm denying my reality of what's happening. So denial can be minimizing my experience. So it may impact me and then I suppress it and minimize my experience. I may push it away or distract myself from it. So then I don't even know the full reality of how I feel about something because I'm denying it. And then there's also fantasy. So we can bypass the feelings that we have through fantasy and avoidance. Again, denial can come in here. Spiritual bypassing can come in here too. So a fantasy, generally, the deeper we go into a fantasy, what I have experienced is that trauma generally impacts this. So if I'm in this fantasy when I say fantasy, generally you'll notice people being in fantasy if you bring up some feedback for them and they say, no, that's not true, that couldn't possibly be true, and they're very defensive, argumentative against it. There's a fantasy that they're in, that when you bring feedback in to say, hey, actually, I think you might not be seeing something right now. They don't want you to uncover that fantasy, though. They don't want you to expose them. And the root of that, like what's really underneath that, is a deep fear and shame. And in order for someone to come out of a fantasy, so I don't use sort of labels, but in this case, just as an example, narcissism can come under fantasy. Someone who's quite narcissistic can be in a fantasy about who they are, and it is generally, it can be the opposite of who they are, but they're so deep in that fantasy that they have not allowed anyone in their own reality, which is the fantasy, to expose them, because anyone who tries to, they will fight back, minimize, dismiss, push down, and get away from, because that person is trying to expose them. So that's where that comes in. And that's where people can be out of alignment and not even know it. So feedback, and we'll get to that, is really what keeps us in alignment to become curious about feedback. So I've got suppression there, as I said, as we suppress our feelings, because as when we're young, it's not safe to be in our reality. So we may have learnt to run away and suppress, or we may have learnt to dissociate and suppress. So there's different ways that we've learnt to protect ourselves and suppress. And then we've got addiction and addictive tendencies. So both have a quick fix and keep us from seeing and feeling the reality that we're in. So it keeps us from it keeps us continuing to suffer with these quick fixes, because in the long term there's like consequences to them. But it also keeps us from actually really being present with and slowing down with the feelings that we have before we reach out for that quick fix. So I've got here a little graph around, I used to teach at a mental health retreat, and something that would come up often is how growth really works. You know, we want it to be this straight line. We want it to be, I'm here and I have a goal and I want to be over here. And often, as we know, it's not like that. It can be ups and downs. And this is where feedback comes in. And this is where alignment comes in too. Because what I see it as is, what happens is we've got to be so in reality of where we are. So that's like the first step. Where am I? What's happening? What are the subconscious belief systems that are ruling my behaviors and decisions that I didn't know about, but they were also causing self-fulfilling prophecies? So really understanding where I am now. So this is the opposite of avoidance. It's curiosity, and gaining clarity on that. And then having a really great understanding of, where do I want to be? Where do I actually want to be in my life? Like, what is the intention? What is the goal? And this goal doesn't need to be big. It can be a big goal, but it can be something where it's like, I feel stuck in this, I feel stuck at the moment, and my goal is to gain clarity. That's something. It could be as simple as that. And we know sometimes it's simple but hard to execute. So it could be as simple as that. And then what happens is, we're on our way, we become curious. So then we start to uncover layers of where I'm at, what's happening, why do I feel stuck? And it might be some belief systems that are keeping us from seeing our strengths, our potential, our higher self. And so we uncover those things. We reflect on past experiences that were painful and caused suffering. And then we do some processing around that through acceptance and non-shame based observation. And this is how it works. We self-regulate. We're feeling healthier, bouncing back from stress more. So this is why there's growth in this graph, because it's like growing. We're getting better at dealing with stressful situations. We're getting better at seeing the stepping stones towards our goals. We're getting better at reflecting without shaming ourselves and minimizing and devaluing ourselves or others. We're getting good at sitting in feelings. So this is what that growth is. And generally, just if you've all got like an intention or a goal that you're looking at, think about the feeling that you're looking for. Like up here, what is that feeling when you achieve that intention, that goal? What feeling would I get from that? Because I say that because this is why this is alignment. Alignment is around our feelings. So in order for me to say, if I have a goal of, say if I have a financial goal, so what feeling do I want? And I go in, I say, if I met this financial goal, I would feel content, I would feel light, I would feel inspired, I would be able to be more in flow. So I'd feel like I could be more feminine. So like just really going into, and those weren't feelings, but like even going underneath, if I felt more feminine, what would I feel? And then first thing that comes to mind is love, connection. Okay, what would that be? Happiness. So like you can just go down into the layers of how you would feel with those things. And as I'm meeting that goal, I'm given feedback. That feedback is going to be in alignment with those feelings, or it's going to be out of alignment with those feelings. As soon as it becomes out of alignment with those feelings, which is totally normal for ups and downs in our life, that's when we can reflect on both. Actually, it could be like, oh, really embodying the good feelings that come up, and then when we start to feel maybe there's some stress coming in, there's some dysregulation, there's maybe some feelings of shame or shutdown, or maybe there's some anger, whatever feelings like that come in, they're all signals. And what they're signaling is there's missing information. And that's when we start to reflect on what is happening here. Do I need to set a boundary for my inner peace? Do I need to sit in this emotion and feel it through and let it pass through me? Do I need to express myself? Do I need to release anger? What's my relationship like? So it's sort of, that's where we reflect on that feeling. So as I said, so you've got a feeling that you're wanting to achieve, write down those feelings. As you're achieving that and as you're moving towards that alignment, you then bring it into your everyday life and make decisions from that place too. So say if I want to feel light and in flow, what sort of activities help me feel light and in flow and content? What sort of activities do I do? And the first thing that comes to mind for me personally is the gym and yoga. Those are sort of things that help me. But there will be a number of activities that you can bring into your life that bring that feeling. And then also, is my relationship bringing me this flow and lightness and contentment? You can bring it into that. Is my work bringing this in for me? And this is why it's not easy to be in alignment, because we really need to look at our reality. That's why it can be quite difficult to be able to come back into alignment. And also, we really need to be able to feel our feelings. And if we've had trauma growing up, and it could be even just wounding, whatever it is, some people don't like using trauma, like going back into that space. If we've had that, generally the coping mechanism is it was better for me not to feel, or it was better for me to run away from feelings. So now as adults, when we're coming into our feelings so we can be more aligned, because maybe we've hit crisis, there's been chaos, there's been relationship breakdowns, we're starting to say, okay, I'm going to try something different, and I'm going to sit in the discomfort of feeling my own feelings and just test and experiment with this alignment thing. Like, will it even work? Who knows? It does work. So, I wouldn't be teaching this if it doesn't work. So really, yeah, feeling into that space of it's slowing things down and feeling it. All my masterclasses, if you have been following me, you will know that it comes back to feeling your feelings. And it's simple, just not easy, because we learnt to distract ourselves, run away, numb ourselves, dissociate, all the different coping mechanisms. So this is where I've got like what happens when we don't do anything and we stay in the addiction, in the denial, in the avoidance, in the fantasy. And what generally happens is we become more and more depleted and miserable, and our body will either tell us, or our mental health will feel drained, we'll feel empty, we'll have health challenges, relationships will break down. So the cost is pretty high to stay in our coping mechanism compared to what I showed you before. Avoidance is the opposite of curiosity and being in alignment. So that's something I remember I heard that a while back, and it was just so simple. It's like avoidance is the opposite to curiosity. So anytime and this is this piece of like, anytime our defender comes on board. So say if you're having a conflict with something, your defender comes on board. Maybe you shut down. Maybe you're trying something new and you procrastinate and you're in that space. Anytime you're getting these signals, this information, this feedback, the best question you can ask is, what is the missing information? And then start to explore through curiosity what the missing information is. And that's that's what I see it as. It's like, it's the opposite of, avoidance. So I know that I'm going to get somewhere. I'm going to see something that maybe I just didn't see before. And that's the cool thing about curiosity. So I wanted to go into, like, how do we know when we're out of alignment? So we feel heavy, we can feel angry, we can see if I can see that, feel resentful. Yep, all those things, depressed, with our boss, our partner, our friends, acquaintances. I don't know if I've spelled that right. Often we feel exhausted and tired. And so this is reoccurring. So it's not like one-offs. It's more like if this is like a reoccurring theme or reoccurring pattern, you know that there's a misalignment. Um, Minor injuries, like not just one-off injury, but like if we constantly get minor injuries, complaining about the same topic. So I don't see complaining about the same topic as someone's like, oh, I can't believe they're talking about that again. What I see that as a therapist is that there's missing information that has not been uncovered yet. And there's a process that can happen to help uncover it and find resolve. So generally that will cycle until there's resolve. Worried about the future. So these are subtle ways, the ones that I've given you up the top, subtle ways of out of alignment. Because what happens with alignment is that we're first given these subtle feedback, this subtle kind of, you almost miss it sometimes until you become really aware of these processes. You almost miss it. And then it gets louder. And so then the louder ones are like more obvious ones. So it's unwanted patterns, conflicts, challenges. And they're reoccurring. You're like, why does this keep happening generally? Burnout can be really obvious. You've got to a point where stress has been so high and then boom, hitting burnout. And generally burnout's like a shutdown, a depressive state. I don't want to get out of bed. I have no motivation. And so it's very obvious there's been misalignment and there's been signals before that. Not satisfied with work, that's also one. And then we've got the extreme, right? How do we know we're extreme out of alignment? So our mental health will really decline to a point of not being able to function. Then things like bankruptcy, that can be a bit extreme. There's severe health problems, marriage breakdowns, but unexpected. So it feels unexpected, but there would have been little signals along the way. And life crisis, like a midlife crisis, a quarter life crisis, that's something I went through. And I wasn't living in alignment before I hit a quarter life crisis. I was doing things thinking that's what I should be doing. So those are different ways. And the reason why I'm putting it on a scale is because, as I said, there's like the little minor things that we can address straight away so it doesn't get to the extreme. Reasons why we get to this point is no one really taught us how to be with our feelings and how to process and how to observe from a non-shameful way. And this is why therapy can be so powerful. Okay, I need to feel, what does that say? I can't see it. I need to feel my feelings, yes, to be in alignment. So that's what I said before, because what can happen is we're often thinking that we are functioning and behaving from our mind and thoughts, but the reality is we're actually doing it from our feelings. So we're feeling it first and then reacting. And what therapy or inner work does is you feel it, you slow it down, you process, you get whatever inner wisdom there is in there, and then you get proactive about making a different decision. That's what bringing yourself back into alignment will be. Whereas many people in society are living from feeling and reaction. And we can also do this as, like, I still do this without realizing, and I'm still reflecting and learning on this sort of stuff and practicing slowing down, feeling, processing, and being proactive. So when we slow down and feel safe to feel again, this is when our trauma arises. So this is what a lot of people are avoiding to do and denying, because especially in fantasy, hardcore fantasy, generally there's something simmering underneath. This is why it's not as easy as, oh, just be curious, or just do this, or just do that, because there's often stuff underneath. And this is how smart our being is. Like, our body is so intelligent. It knows when we feel safe and we slow down, it knows to bring up stuff to be resolved. And that's what happens, which is why it can be also difficult to be in alignment, because it means that when I slow down, I feel safe and I'm with myself, and I'm not, using coping mechanisms. That's when anything that's unresolved will come up. So these are uncomfortable feelings that have been suppressed or repressed. So suppressed means when I know it's there and I push it down or distract myself from it. Repressed is more around, I don't know it's actually there, and it's not until I start to feel safe that maybe I might have dreams or reoccurring memories coming up, like flashes that might come up. I might have body emotional memories come up, so where I get a dysregulation, and it can put me into like a terror state or a fear state. And that's when you know it's more repressed. So you didn't know it was there. This is why I don't go back in when I do work with people. I don't go back into memories that aren't there, and we don't do it. We don't sort of look at it from reconstructing the memory, because our memory doesn't know how to do that very well. But the feelings that we have, that's the accurate thing that we follow. So that's the way we feel about something. That's the inner wisdom there, because we know that's accurate. And then I do the work around that. So we've got to really, we've got to start processing these so we can see our light. That's what I've put there, because often we can see ourselves in a negative view on a subconscious level, not even know that we're doing it, until we start to process and work through traumas, why we do certain things, and we start to feel and process the shame that might be there, the fear that might be there, and the belief systems that are really keeping us in a survival state. And as I said, when you're when you know your protector's coming in, so like defending, arguing, or shutting down and fawning, that's when you know there's more information that needs to come through. So I always see this as a signal now. So rather than my default is defending and arguing. I grew up in a Greek family, so very passionate, and like that's something that they would do. And so if I defend, or if I feel, now that I do the work and I know what my process is, if I feel like I want to argue or defend, I see that as a signal. And it's generally a signal that there's missing information. So that's where I come back and ask for the missing information. The opposite to this are statements like, I already know, and I already know, or I know more than you, I'm more special than you. Those statements are so dangerous because they're the opposite of curiosity. And that's what keeps us disconnected from ourselves and from others. I've seen this time and time again, and I really feel for people in this place, because I know that that it can keep us stuck in these patterns and suffering. And it's really sad. Shut down, I don't have time, energy, money. We can procrastinate, or we can, the shutdown, that's the surface, like I don't have time, energy, money. Underneath that is, I don't believe I can do it. I don't believe I can do it. So that's, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I have value. So generally, that when we think from that place, that's a shutdown response in our nervous system. And then fawning and people pleasing. I'll do it for you, but I don't know if I don't know, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for you. So I'm sacrificing, or I'm not seeing myself fully when I do that for people. So that also brings us out of alignment as well. So as I said before, this is the last slide. I know I've shared a lot of information. Curiosity, what's the missing information? Listening to the feedback through feeling and processing. Understanding and observing, and creating space between your protector and your higher self, your adult self. this is one of the best tools that you can have, because the protector is something that we can be really identified with until we start to do the inner work and see, the protector, or the part of us we believe is self-sabotaging us, is actually there for a reason, and it needs to be heard. There's some information there. And then ask for help and support from professional, if that's something where you're feeling you're constantly out of alignment, having an external person see your situation can really support you to gain that clarity and to come back into alignment. So do I have any questions from anyone? That is about all the information that I'm sure that you're like, oh, that's a lot of information. Glenda, I'll just press. Let's see if we can get you. Is it unmute? Oh, there we go.
Am I there? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
What is the protector again?
So the
Or
protector.
who is the protector?
Yeah. What I see the protector as is it's part of us that's quite vulnerable, and it's the part of us that we see it, many people in society see it as self-sabotage and call it like you're self-sabotaging. So generally it's like the part of us, so we've got a goal, right? We have a goal we want to meet, and then there's this part, and I call it the protector, that's like, no, we're not meeting that goal. We're going to do this instead. And so it's doing that because it's trying to protect you from being seen, standing out, meeting that goal, people judging you. So there's all these like beliefs that it has. And so I see the protector as it's so important to be seen, because a lot of coaches and I guess people in society bulldoze the protector. So, and the protector has information, because the information that it has is helpful for our alignment. Because it could be like, maybe my protector might come in because I'm going to the gym and all of a sudden I keep going and I'm tired, and I've got this thing in my head where I'm like, I have to go 5 days a week. And in my mind but my body's like starting to feel really exhausted, and my protector will come in and be like, no, we're not going to the gym. So it may give me an injury. It may, or before that, it will be signaling. It will be like, your body's, I'll feel exhausted. I'll feel tension in my body. So it's trying to bring me back. And if I listen to it, it's just like trying to balance me out, really. So what it's trying to do is say, you're jumping too far at this point in time. What we need to do is find a middle ground. So the protectors, that's why I call it a protector, because it's actually trying to protect us. So say if I, what example could I give? When I started my business, I needed a stepping stone before I went into business. And my protector came in and was really loud. Like I'd shut down, I'd procrastinate, and I'd do all these things. And it wasn't until I started listening to it, and I was like, what do you need? It was like, I need certainty. I need security. How can we get that? I think you should look for a job, here, do this. Okay, let's do that. And we started looking for that. And then I became into alignment, because I was like feeling more secure, and I listened. Whereas the protector is in the background in our subconscious. And if we don't listen to the signal, it will sort of sabotage us a little. So it might have kept me in procrastinating and shut down.
Okay. And that's sort of what I thought. It was like the subconscious sort of going, no, you can't do that. Like,
Yes.
No, I'm going to hold you back, or,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Who do you think you are? What do you mean? You cannot do that. Yeah, that's the protector.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay.
And it might have, it generally has really important information though. So
Okay.
this is where parts work comes in. So inner child work and parts work. So it's generally the part of us that we've suppressed and fragmented from. And what that means is, when we were little, this protector it's been there, but we've sort of ignored it, and it's the vulnerable part of us. So to survive, we've had to suppress it. push it over here, deny it, push it away. As adults, when we want to come back into healing and into balance again, we need to, there's a protector. Why is there a protector? Who is this protector? What does it have to say? It's the part of, when I was little, I was shamed for expressing myself and my boundaries. So then this protector came in and taught me to shut down and people please.
Okay.
To survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else? Sophia.
Thank you, Thelma. I think a lot of that makes sense. But for me, it's more around like feeling the feelings and allowing myself the time to feel those feelings, because my mind will just speed up and go, oh yeah, this has happened, da 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 da. And then it's like, oh, I don't even know if I've processed it or not. And it's like, what can I do in that situation? Like, to slow myself down and actually feel the feelings and describe them, and kind of like be like kind of in touch with, it might be the protector or the whatever it might be. Yeah, that's
So the situation, the thing happens.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
And then I have this awareness of like, oh yeah, I need to feel what I'm feeling. And then I just distract myself from it a lot of the time, even though I know that that part is there. Or sometimes I think that I've, labeled and acknowledged and accepted those parts of me that have shown up, but then I move through it like pretty quickly, or like sometimes can bypass or.
Yes. Okay. And what are the thoughts that come in around it?
Yeah, that you don't need to do this, or you got better things to do, like these are more important things that you have to be doing right now. You don't have time to slow down.
So that's a really good example, Glenda, of the protector. So Sophia, that's your protector coming in and saying, you don't need to do this. And so what could be interesting about that is to create a dialogue with that part that's saying, you don't need to do this. You've got things to do. So even just asking it, what's scary about feeling my feelings right now? Questions like that, like what is, what do you need to be able to sit with this? Who knows what it's got to say? It might say, oh, I need someone in person supporting me. You might, and so this is where the protectors like actually got some information for you, because it might be like, oh, it feels vulnerable and I want to do it co-regulating with someone.
Yeah, which is majority of the time, I think. And that's why I think I struggle with feeling my feelings when I am by myself, because it's like, oh, no, I've got no one to keep me accountable, or I rush through it. And yeah, it's like this kind of unknown if it's still lingering. And it just feels like there's like this gap between knowing what I have to do, but then also the doing part of it.
Yes. And what it sounds like though is having like the mind's like you should feel them, you should be here, you should be, and whereas if we come back to, okay, so I know now, what you know is that in person with someone you feel more safer to feel your feelings. That's really good. That's good information. So we know I want to also learn how to feel my feelings when I'm not with someone so I can self-regulate. Fantastic. That's the goal, right? Like that's the intention.
Right.
And then from there, I'm going to start to do little things. So I'm not going to expect myself to be able to feel it when they're big feelings. Maybe I'll just start with little things. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds good. It takes a long time. It's such like an everyday practice.
And well, even if you like took out, what if I just start once a week? What if and there's no, like, who knows what you will manifest after that? Like, I think that's the interesting thing, is that we think we've got to be elite at something before we like create like the thing that we want or manifest, and you will be very surprised at like, even if you brought it in just in the morning, once a day, once a week, start with that and then see what happens. Like not many people are feeling their feelings, Sophia. So even just wanting to is like huge.
I feel like I go through my phases of like, I'm on a good, like, kind of
Yeah.
flow with it, and then something big will happen and it will just throw me. But it's
Yeah.
like, I just kind of feel like I want that consistency in my life, yeah, where it's like this daily thing, or when something comes up that triggers that I can just go boom, 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 you know?
What would that do for you if you could go boom, boom, boom?
Allow me to process things quickly.
Yeah. And if you were able to process things quickly, what outcome would that give you?
Like satisfaction,
Hmm.
um, yeah, like a sense of achievement and feeling like I've got kind of charge and control of my life.
Yes. So
Yeah.
there's that confidence piece, yeah. And I know you didn't use that word, but that's what I was feeling. It was like you'd feel more confident that. So this is where I was talking about like being able to bounce back from stressful
Mm.
situations. So it's getting that skill to go, okay, that happened. Okay, I've got my tools in place, I've got my resources in place. And that's like a practice. I'm going to
Mm.
regulate and co-regulate, and it will be a practice to, I call it, widen your window of tolerance. So under stress, being able to widen that ability.
Mm.
And that,
Yeah, we do it like unconsciously as well as consciously. Like,
say that again, sorry, what was
I
that?
feel like we do that unconsciously throughout our day anyway, like kind of feeling
Yes.
our feelings and like going through the process without the recognition.
Probably, yeah. Absolutely. I think that's why it's important to know where you are on the polyvagal ladder, because as you're tracking yourself and your feelings in that space of like, okay, what's happening for me? Just check-ins. I call them check-ins during the day.
Yeah.
Um, you can track, because our body's so intelligent that sometimes it will shut down and you won't even know that you're numbing out, but you're still doing the thing that it's telling you to do. So
Yeah.
checking in is where you can start to go, okay, where am I? I'm feeling good, grounded, social, connected. That's at the top. Okay, where am I? I'm feeling frustrated. Why am I frustrated? What's happened? That's the feedback. That's the feedback. Okay. And even the feedback of feeling good, that's feedback as well, because then we'll know, you have a list of things, people, environments that regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
And frustration. And so it's just tracking those things and slowing ourselves down enough to be able to checking in. You can even, some people have time, little things on their phones to
Good
um,
idea.
like reminders to check
Yeah.
in. Yeah, yeah. There's that. Yeah, depending.
Mhm.
That could be a good little tool for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Thelma.
You're so very welcome. And Kate, how are you going?
Hello.
Hello.
So much information.
I know, yes. What
Well,
has
I
that?
think I've done all of the things from subtle, obvious, and extreme with the out of alignment thing. Been there, done that.
You've done all them? Great.
Yeah, tick all that. That's great. And then sorry, I've got so many notes. And then I feel like I'm in this space now where, as you say, when you feel safe, you're starting to see everything. So it's like, it sort of feels like it's a setback, but you know it's not.
Yes.
But like now I'm starting to feel things and I don't know what to do. Like, yeah, it's a bit overwhelming. And I just feel like every day I'm feeling things. And I'm like, didn't I used to feel things? This is really weird. What's real and what's not? I don't know, like, and what I wrote down an interesting and I'm kind of terrified to feel my feelings. Like sitting through things feels very painful. It's like, and then I find out though, that I'm fine afterwards. but it's like it feels like the world is ending, and then it's like a couple of days later, it's like, oh, it's okay.
Yes.
What did I write down? Oh yeah. So yesterday, like I have these huge feelings. Like yesterday, I feel like I was having, I don't know, an autistic meltdown or something because I think I was really hot, but I can't pinpoint what, like I'm trying to process what it was all about. I got really, really angry because my partner made a moussaka and didn't follow the recipe that where you meant to use cinnamon and nutmeg because I really like it. She'd done it one with fresh herbs. And I'm like, that's not moussaka. Like, but like inside, I lost my shit. I was like, it was like she didn't follow the rules. It's weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
And
she
what?
also just before that, I was like, where are the tools for this thing? And she'd unpacked them and put them away. And I was like, but they belong in the toolbox. It was like moving my things or something. But I felt like I know it was over the top, but I really inside cracked it. Like, and I was like,
What?
in the end, I was like, whatever, it's something that doesn't even matter. And I can put it back together. But it was just this unjust, like,
Yes.
I couldn't let it go. Like that you'd
So
unpacked the box.
great
Why would you do that?
feedback.
Huh?
Yeah. Great feedback. And I love this is I just want to take you through a bit of a process because so you felt that frustration. You knew though it was you're like, why am I so frustrated about the moussaka?
Like a bit annoying, but it's not like I
Right?
just let it go. Yeah, it's like
But then letting it go is interesting. So you've got feedback here. Letting it go too quickly is avoiding it, right?
yeah,
Because feedback, though, it might have absolute. Well, I'll tell you now, it has absolutely nothing to do with the musaka. But what you come back to is what happened before that. Where was your nervous system at before that? What was
not
happening?
good. I don't think it's absolutely just been on holiday in the most lovely climate, and I'm trying to pickle things in a tiny house, and it's 40 something degrees, and
So you're hot.
I'm hot, and hot is yeah.
Hot. So you're activated already, and then the moussaka was not what you wanted it to be. So then there's like another layer on top of that. So the hot was the feedback. What did you do? What could you do about the hot? Like were you doing about the hot being really hot?
Well, I should have just not bothered trying to do what I did because I ended up burning it anyway. Like I was making a relish.
So you were trying to push through.
Yes, and then I ended up because I can't smell. I bloody had to warm it up again and then burnt it. And I was like, oh my God, all of this effort all day is just like that was, like it was like pushing
Right.
through this heat. It's oppressive. Like, yeah, it's just too hot to be outside, but the kitchen is half outside. So I'm getting frustrated, I guess, about the way the house is too, because I'm outside.
And what I love that you're bringing in is there was something subtle, hot, right? Subtle
Yep.
feedback. And then it got bigger and bigger as you pushed through.
Yeah.
Right. It's a really good example of
But I'm
like
getting frustrated I can't get anything done because it's so hot.
you're like, then I can't do it.
Every day. It's going to be the next like 5 days.
And so then it's bringing it back to the part of you that feels like I have to do it now because
Yeah.
else I will not be able to get it done because it's too hot. So then that's the thinking that comes in. But
Yes.
if you were to sit in that, slow it down and ask it, okay, I'm really hot. What can we do? Like ground before yeah. If I was to breathe, go cool down, ground, what could I, and then start to look into like solutions. But I would say grounding would be the first thing.
Yeah, just grounding. Yeah. I can't ground in a tiny house because it's so hot. It's like everywhere.
You need some cooling. You need something that you need a cooler. What do they call it? Aircon.
Oh, there is aircon, but it's like, yeah, it's like a tiny space.
Thank you for sharing that because it's a good example of
I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting how ridiculous. I'm like, why am I so irate? Like, it's a bit annoying, but it's like if I couldn't cope with things like this every day, then I'd have a few problems. Like,
there's really good information in subtleties. So have a really good friend that we work together with the subtleties. So even if something, we're actually probably extremisms because I will pick up her subtlety of something where she's pushing something away and she'll ask me a question, and I've been able to say, hey, what just happened for you? Why did you redirect? Or like the tension.
Yep.
And so able to pick up those subtleties, because if we don't, that's when they get more bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's when we're starting to interact, where there's something internally happening for me, but I'm not showing you what it is. And you're actually responding to that. This is like the feedback loop. This is how subtle it can be in relationships with people. So what I'm saying is nothing is too small to explore, to become curious about.
Okay.
Like,
curious, why am I feeling like this kind of thing?
Yeah, like I'm feeling hot. Maybe first step would be, what do I need? I need to cool down. And it can be simple like that too. It can also,
I thought all these things being like a chippy kind of thing. In the past, well, other than trauma-y stuff, I would have to ignore all that stuff and just work through anything. And now it's all had enough.
yeah.
But then I'm never going to get anything done. But yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's fascinating.
Did you have a question, Sophia?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, is it also about communicating our needs in
Yes.
times like that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Again, it's knowing how to, which is my stuff, but yeah.
Oh, it can be a co-creation as well. So do I feel safe to speak up? Do I feel safe to express myself and my needs? Have I created that safety with the other person? So there's always two in that space. So yes, there's practicing doing it with someone safe, which is what we'll do in therapy. And there's also when you do step out to express yourself and your needs, doing it where possible with someone that you know will be able to meet you there. And when it's not possible, to be able to then like sort of not take it personally, which is like the hardest thing that you will work through. But once you work through it, it's amazing.
And do you think that it's easier to express your needs or communicate them when you feel in alignment with your life? More so when you're dysregulated or?
I really love that question. I first thing is to be clear. Yeah. So yes, clarity around that is being in alignment. So being clear of like what I need to be in balance and feel content. So if I'm clear about that, yep, there's alignment there. If it's fuzzy and confusing, there's more information to come in. So it's a signal to get more information. And there's a signal that there's something out of alignment. But yeah, absolutely. The clarity is a signal that the clarity that creates that clarity gives you the options. It's almost like I'm clear about the direction I'm going in. I'm clear about what's happened. I'm clear about, so I can go from there. I can move from there. And that clarity, definitely is more aligned with alignment. Confusion would be more out of alignment, because it's like if I just move forward with the confusion, then I might get myself even further into confusion and shut down. And it cycles. Whereas if I stop and slow down and what's this confusion? What's happening here? So this is, it's where the alignment comes in.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, it's been so rich today. I've really enjoyed working with you three, Glenda, Kate, and Sophia. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Thelma.
You're so very welcome, and I hope you had a great session. Thank you, Glenda. It's nice to meet you too.
Same. I've been told quite a bit about you. It's all good.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's all lovely.
Amazing. I love it. Okay, great. I will see a couple of you this week as well. Kate, I'll see you next week. And if you'd like to, work with me, I have my website. Just contact me on there. But doing this sort of work, feeling our feelings. This is why it's so important to be in alignment.
Yeah. Thank you. Looking forward to next week.
Yes, great. All righty. See you later.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.